Good evening. Hopefully I've gone live. We'll see if anyone joins. Hello everyone. Hopefully people have come. Hello. Hi Kathryn. I'll add you in a minute. Hi guys. Hi Oliver. Hi Amy. Hi Amelia. Hiya. Welcome. Unfortunately I haven't got a Funhouse t-shirt, but I've got the next best thing, which is The Accident by DIANE HOH. I've got this like cool badge and these cool earrings which I got off Etsy, 𝐏𝐨𝐬𝐧𝐭 UFO catcher, so check her store out because it's really cool. But welcome everyone to Point Horror. What are we in? July Point Horror Book Club, where we're talking about Funhouse. Yay! So this was a favourite of mine as a teen, and I haven't reread it since. But yeah, I really loved it, so it didn't disappoint. Hi Raj. Hi Emma. Hi Kat. Right, I'm going to add our guest in. So our guest this month is Kathryn Foxfield, whose books Good Girls Die First and It's Behind You have all the point horror vibes. I highly recommend them. And Kathryn is super lovely and her books are brilliant, so I'm so honoured that she's joining me. So I'm going to add her in hopefully. If you anyone can't hear me, let me know, because I'm trying it again without the headphones just to see, but just let me know. Hi Karen. Right, I'm just going to try and invite you in, Kathryn, hopefully. Done that right. Kathryn will join us. Hi Kathryn.
Hello, it worked.
Hello,
yeah. Technology. Hi everyone.
Are you okay?
Yeah, good. Thanks for the lovely intro.
Oh, you're welcome. I meant every word, honestly. Buy Kathryn's books.
Yeah, definitely.
So welcome to Point Horror Book Club. I'm so glad that we picked Funhouse for the read this month, because I know it's like a personal
Yeah, I just remember it from when I was a teenager. I just remember loving it, and it was good on the reread. Yeah. I'm glad it didn't disappoint me and ruin my teenage memories. So,
so do you remember why you loved point horror as a teen, and did it have any like influence on any of your writing, like as an adult?
Yeah, I think so. I can remember as a teen, I knew it was a bit silly back then. I'd never read it because I thought it was great fiction or something serious. And I think I just liked it because it was fun and aimed at teenagers. And a lot of the horror I was reading at the time was all for grown-up men, basically.
Yeah.
And I think point horror was something that no adult was ever going to read and pick for you. So it felt like it was just this big secret among me and all my teenage friends. So yeah, I think it probably has had an impact on what I write. Lots of people have said my books have elements of point horror, which I hope they mean as a compliment.
Yes,
who knows? They definitely have all the sort of the characters that you won't mind too much if they get murdered, and a slightly ridiculous premise, and then over the top murdering. So yeah,
everything that we love, Kathryn.
I know, it's everything I love in a book anyway.
Brilliant. So what we'll get started. So I normally start off, so just to warn everyone, spoilers ahead for the chat. So if you haven't read the book or you don't want to hear spoilers, then you might want to watch the replay if it saves later. I have to say spoilers because sometimes I forget and people are like, no, you spoiled it for me. So the tagline for Funhouse is "You can die laughing," and I just thought that was just like, I think when I was younger, the tagline for this book is what probably drew me to the book, as well as the cover. Like, this is definitely something that teen Shelley would grab straight away off the shelf. It's just so like eye-catching. So I'll do a bit of a summary that I've written. We'll see how it goes. It's quite hard to summarise these books sometimes, I find, but we'll try. So Amusement Park, the Boardwalk, is open all year round. It's the hit place to be for all teenagers, and closing it will send the teenagers stark raving mad. I love that. Nothing bad has happened at the Boardwalk for over 100 years. I mean, that's a long time. But there may be some history with the infamous Funhouse. And one of the most popular attractions is the Devil's Elbow roller coaster. Well, that is until one fateful day when it becomes very unpopular and comes off the tracks. So that's kind of how the book starts, isn't it, Kathryn? It starts with this like dramatic Final Destination 3 vibe with the
it's right in there, isn't it? Straight in with the death. Yes.
Everyone knows that I like a bit of death. That sounds so bad. So we have a death straight away on page 1. And yes, poor Dade Lewis. I mean, you thought that name was bad. Wait till we go further into the book. He snuffs it on page 1, dead and gone. Doesn't even get, I think he gets a mention a little bit later on, but basically R.I.P. Dade Lewis. And then you've got Sherry Buchanan's butchered face, and then Joey, I think it's Joey Furman's missing leg. And then not forgetting the elderly lady, which I shouldn't have laughed at, but it was really funny. The elderly lady being tossed into the food booth.
We never hear about her again, though. Is she still there?
Oh my
God! Did they save
what
her?
happened to her?
Who knows? I feel like she's not a teenager, so no one cares.
Yeah. Oh, it's so bad of us. But was she on the roller coaster, or was she just like a standing by it and just got tossed into this food stall?
So many questions.
So many unanswered questions. And then Tess, our main girl, sees a figure running away from the roller coaster crash with a lead pipe. I mean, it was very detailed what she could see. She could see the lead pipe, but she just couldn't see who it was, which made me laugh. So then what follows is the most hilarious character names in a point horror that I think I've ever come across, but there probably are more. A threatening note written in purple magic marker, which I recreated around the photo. Creepy phone calls with endings you don't expect. More on that later. And someone following our main character, slashing her tyres and leaving fake dead cats on her lamp outside the door. So is the Boardwalk a target, or is someone actually after Tess and her friends? Everyone's a suspect. Tess suspects literally everyone. And someone is not having fun at the Funhouse. Let's put it that way. I mean, the board of directors for the Boardwalk wouldn't hide these serious accidents, would they? No. So yes, that's kind of a bit of a summary of the book. Should we chat a little bit about the main girl, Tess? I feel like she was quite an interesting character. If anyone's got any comments or anything as we're chatting, just pop them up. I'll try and read them out, or try and read as many as I can. So oh darn it, Tess Landers, because she used darn it quite a little bit sometimes. So she was our like tall and skinny protagonist, with her straight mousy hair. She had like a little blue car and a passion for walking everywhere on her own.
Yeah.
What did you think of Tess? I quite liked Tess.
She had some parts of her that I thought were really good. She was a good main character and I thought she was nice, but she was a bit stupid. There were moments when I was like, what are you doing?
Like face palm, like, no.
Yeah, just come on. She doesn't know she's in a horror book, obviously, but she makes quite a few errors. But yeah,
it was the walking on her own, like all the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, walking on your own, okay, fair enough. But when you know someone is actually stalking you and all these bad things are happening, why would you walk on your own at night through the woods?
I know, it's the bit where she's had her tyres slashed and then she's like, well, I don't want the stalker to see me, so I'll walk home alone in the dark And then she starts to feel a bit exposed. So she's like, I know what will be better. I'll go through the creepy woods in the dark, in the mud, all by myself. And it's not something I would ever think to myself, that's what I'm going to do.
No. And I'm sure at one point, I might be wrong, I'm sure she puts like her headphones on and listens to like George Michael or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, I wouldn't do that. I'd want to, like, if I was going through those, I'm sure it was when she was going through the woods, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I'd arm myself.
And I wouldn't arm myself with the Walkman from the 90s. But yeah, and then as we're talking about that wood section, she falls into like this under construction swimming pool, which was something out like, I can never say this word, but poltergeist. I can never say it. But she falls into this like under construction swimming pool. It just made me laugh. I was so bad that I laugh at these characters, but
yeah,
it was just really funny.
What did she then say to the owner of the swimming pool? She said something about sorry for swimming in your pool without permission.
I think I wrote it down. I think it was something like, oh yeah, you're right, yeah. So concerned. I'm sorry that I'm swimming in your swimming pool without permission. And I'm like, no.
It's mud.
It's a mudslide. The guy at the top was like helping her out, going like, what the hell is she doing? Wasn't there a dog as well, I think, like, and she was like,
yeah,
dog. Like Lassie with
Doberman.
But yeah, that whole scene was like hilarious.
She made me laugh. I loved how everyone was always trying to help her or tell her to go and do something, and she's like, no, I will not. I'm going to stay in this house by myself. I'm not going back to my dad's house. And you're just like, come on.
Yeah. Emma's put, she should have been scared, but she just wasn't. But I kind of like that about her.
Yeah.
Like, I like that she like wasn't scared, but then I think that might be because I just was laughing at everything that she did.
The bit with the cat, she was scared because I'm sure I was reading it thinking, how long did she actually scream for? Because she screamed and then I think she's just standing there like, ah! Until someone came over and...
But then like all of her friends were literally there. They don't live anywhere near her because she lives in like this quite isolated house on a hill. But then all of her friends, like every single one of them was like there. It's like, where do they all come from? Did she scream for that long? That's like they heard them and came running to help. It was just really, really funny. But I think It's All Retros, but Tess was so stubborn. Yeah, she was. Yeah. She was really stubborn. But she needed to be with her boyfriend, which I'll get to in a bit. Yeah. No. So, do my pointy finger, he made me that angry. So talking about where Tess lived, that house that she did.
Sounded nice.
It sounded lovely. But no curtain. So I just imagined it as like this glass house on top of this like hill, which she loved the view by day but felt quite isolated and lonely at night. Yeah. And I kind of just imagine it. I think, I'm not sure whether I've got my film right, but I think When a Stranger Calls is set in like a glass house. I might be wrong, so I do apologise if I am wrong. But it just reminded me of that kind of setting with someone like looking in all the time and like no curtains, no drapes, nothing.
No, I mean, just all the lights on.
Me paranoid.
I felt quite scared just reading it. The thought of having every light on and then the TV on as well and just being lit up like a Halloween pumpkin and just anyone could just be right outside the glass. And
oh no. Oh God, that's terrifying. Oh dear. My heart's going pitter-patter. But yeah, so obviously the usual, her parents were out of town. Well, her parents were divorced and she was living with her stepmom, and I kind of liked all that backstory we had for Tess as well. Like for a point horror, I actually thought that was quite deep and quite good. Yeah. Like her mum died when she was 9, and then she was living with her stepmom because she didn't get on with her dad and stuff. And I thought, oh, this is quite deep for a point horror. I'm quite liking that. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, so Tess didn't take any crap from anyone basically, and she was stubborn, as we've said. But she had a tendency to like blab her mouth. So why would she tell people that she saw this? Tell people other than the police. I mean, would you tell your friends though? I think you probably would, to be fair.
I would, but maybe not those friends, because I'm trying to work out whether she'd done something in the past where she lied about something or was unreliable in some way, because her friends, every time she said something, they like gaslight the hell out of her. Oh no, you're just upset, nothing's happened, you're imagining it. It's like they don't believe a word she says.
No, no, not friends really, are they? But yeah, so she if you gave her a hot dog though, she'd turn into a beast.
That came out of nowhere right at the end. All the smell of hot dogs brings the beast out in me. I was like, oh, okay.
I thought I'm going to use that for future reference. Give me a hot dog, it brings the beast out in me. But yeah, and also she had a really good ability of, if you say you've lost something in the sand, Tess will find it. I mean, how did she find that tiny?
It's convenient. It was quite a big plot point, wasn't it?
It's like, I almost think like, I mean, I love DIANE HOH's writing. I do really like it, but I just think all of a sudden DIANE HOH thought, how can I get this like stone in? And then she just finds it on the beach.
Convenient.
Where she was standing. And I was like, oh gosh. And also as well, I'll move on from Tess now. I could talk about Tess a lot. I have to make two more things I just have to mention about her is having the common sense to sit on her bum in the Funhouse to go over the discs.
Yeah.
Like, I hate things like that. But if ever I was in one, that's exactly what I would do, and I'd have no shame.
No, I think I would as well. Well, you wouldn't get me in there in the first place. But
the only thing that would happen to me was I'd sit on it, if it was that big a disc as well, because they were quite big. I mean, how did someone even move that disc? Now I'm thinking about it.
I don't know. It's just because I think I've been in a fun house a couple of times, because my like then 3-year-old would be like, I want to go in that. And so I'd have to do the sort of follow her around, and you're just constantly like, don't get your head crushed in that, don't fall down there, because they're just so badly made and full of danger. So, but
I think what would happen to me if I sat on one of those things to try and like scoot across, I think I'd just end up going round and round and round. That's the type of thing that happens to me, and I wouldn't be able to get off, and then someone would have to come and rescue me. I've thought about this a lot. A little bit too much. And then my last thing I have to mention about Tess is at the end when she's getting kidnapped by the villain, which we'll talk about in a minute. When she's getting kidnapped, so he must be like dragging her outside, and she's like, wait, it's raining outside, can I have a jacket? And I don't think he answers her. It was so random, and I was like, very sensible. Now is not the time. Right, the whole book you haven't really been that sensible, Tess, and now you want a jacket because it's raining and the kidnapper's gonna take you out of the rain. So that made me laugh. Yeah, a few people have put some comments up about the police. Oh, they're probably police. So yeah, so the matter will be investigated, police. That was their like little catchphrase. And then you had Chalmers, who was like the major, the police chief. That's the word I'm looking for. I mean, what the hell was he doing? I don't think he was
no work.
No. He couldn't find his own nose without a mirror, apparently. He was heavy set, red face, and apparently he walked in like a rolling motion.
Yeah, when I first read that, I thought he was just commando rolling everywhere. Like, what? Thinking, I was like, how do you walk with a rolling motion? So yeah, which would have been better, but I don't think he could have done impressive.
I like your version better, that he was like, everywhere he went, he was like rolling in, like, hello. Yeah. I like that. I mean, the board got him elected. So the board of the Boardwalk, which seemed to be consisted of all the parents of these teens, got him elected. So that kind of explains a lot. But I have to mention the creepy cop that Tess took the note to.
That's my favourite scene. It's so bad. I hate it so much.
He was just creepy. Like, I think he was like, I think they don't believe her for one, and like it's just a waste of time. And then I think he's like, oh, are you missing your boyfriend?
Yeah.
No, that can't be it.
He was like, hey, little lady.
Yeah. They would have to be crazy to walk out on a pretty thing like you. And I was like, no. I mean, I just imagined him as like an old policeman, but he could have been a young policeman, give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. He was awful. And he took her note, her purple note.
He took the note. I mean, she shouldn't have left it there, really, should she?
So important.
I know. So let's move on to the love interest. I say love interest.
There wasn't really any love there, though, was there?
Oh, God, he was
They didn't even like each other.
No. So Sam Oliver, his name was. So with his, look at my face, I'm just like, with his wavy, curly, dark hair and his broad shoulders, he had like potential to be a good point horror love interest, but no. He wasn't. No. He was up there with, we read April Fools a few months ago, I think in April, and there was a character in there called Frank, and he was vile. That's all I can say. Now Sam was on a par, but not quite as bad. I'm going to say not quite as bad as Frank, but well, almost. I'm like umming and ahhing. What did you think of Sam, Kathryn? Did you like him? He was just
very dramatic, wasn't he? He was always throwing his arms in the air and getting cross with Tess for no real reason at all.
Yeah.
And just being a bit of an arse, really. What's the bit where he tries to cure her of being upset and gives her a kiss or something? And he's like, there now.
Oh yeah. And I think like he goes something like, there, is that taking you seriously, Tess? Because obviously he doesn't seriously for anything. And to be fair on Tess, she's like, what is that? Some kind of therapy for people with nervous wrecks or something like that. And I'm just like,
I just thought he was very frustrated throughout the whole thing. He was like on edge the whole time. So I thought he might be the killer, but we'll see. He was my first suspect.
So It's All Retro said Sam had a crazy obsession about Tess going back to live with her dad. He was like a parrot. Yeah, I don't get that. But there was some indication that Sam and Tess had an argument before the book started, and it seemed to revolve around Shelley, the stepmom that Tess was living with, I think. So I was like, oh, what's going on there? That sounds like another point horror.
Yeah.
So what have I made? Some notes. I made some angry notes about Sam because I just...
he didn't really have any redeeming features, though, did he? He was nice a few times. Most of the time he was just being mean. There was one bit where someone said, oh, why don't you stay with her at her house to look after her? And he's like, I'm not freezing my buns off. He used to stay. I was like, oh, nice guy.
Oh no, he was just no. The only plus point for me was the fact that his father was a doctor, and it piqued my interest when he was at the hospital and the doctor father appeared, and I thought, oh, is he going to be like a sexy doctor?
Reaching a bit.
Yeah, and it didn't happen. But yeah, and then also I'm trying to convince people that I liked him now, and I didn't. But when he says something like, you're as nervous as my old man when the stock market takes a dive. And I like that line. Aww. I thought, yeah, okay.
I don't think he was evil or anything. I think he just wasn't right for our Tess. I think they just needed to have a clean break, stop trying to just make it work, and he'll meet a nice stock market obsessed girl and be really happy.
I think I saw someone, I think it might have been Kat, but I'm just having a look. Oh yeah, so many people gaslighted Tess, Kat said. Yeah. That's how it felt, like they all were a bit like that. That Point on Pike Street, Larissa's put, has there ever been a good point horror boyfriend?
I don't think there has actually.
They're either normally the killer or just like really bad. Eddie's video, so Oliver's put, did we guess who the killer was? As we were reading, because I know you just said at first you thought Sam was the killer.
Yeah.
I did suspect Sam at some point. But did you guess as you were reading who the killer was?
I tried not to sort of try too hard to work it out based on sort of storytelling rather than the actual characters. And I think I wrote down page 125 or 130 or something was when I was like, oh yeah, okay. So it was quite near the end when I worked it out. I think if I'd been paying more attention, I could have worked it out sooner, but
yeah,
just having fun.
No,
there's so many suspects. So.
Yeah, I don't think, in the back of my mind from when I read it years ago, I thought it was 𝐏𝐨𝐬𝐧𝐭. What a name. We'll talk about him in a second. But I thought it was him, but then I talked myself out of it because I thought, no, my memory must be wrong. It can't be him. But now I'm like, of course it was him. Like, it was a bit obvious, but... Karen's put, how did the Funhouse last safety inspections? He said it was easy to lift the disc and underneath is a massive drop to the beach.
This was the 90s though, wasn't it? So
there was no health and safety in the 90s.
And they probably were paid by the board of directors, who I think own the whole town.
Oliver's put, I'm an idiot because I did not guess the killer. And then, well, I didn't guess it either. And Kathryn
not until the end. No.
Towards the end. So, yeah. So, okay, we'll talk about 𝐏𝐨𝐬𝐽. 𝐏𝐨𝐽 Jr., the villain, as I like to call him. So, what I loved about him, I'll start with what I loved. Actually, I think I just loved him, if I'm honest. Because like he was such a rubbish villain. And I'll give you my evidence why I thought that. So I liked, what did you think of the alternate chapters in this? So like some of the chapters obviously being the story and Tess, and then obviously this mysterious character who's found this diary, and we obviously hear what happened in the past with that person's, well, 𝐏𝐨𝐽's parents. And what did you think of that? Did you like that?
Yeah, I quite liked it. I wouldn't have wanted too much of it because I think he was just unhinged in those chapters. I was like, this person is nuts. And I was trying to work out who it could be because everyone in the sort of normal chapters of the book seemed so sort of normal, and some of them were horrible, but none of them were kind of like purple magic marker unhinged. So I think he hid it really well.
Yeah. I wonder if the diary that he was reading was written in purple marker, so it was like a link.
Yeah. I did wonder where he got it from. Did he go off to the shop and think, oh, what would be the best pen for writing creepy poems in? I'm going to get that one. Because they're quite fat, aren't they, magic markers? Yeah, they're kind of big, stubby things.
Yeah, I mean, I remember them, and like, you couldn't write neat in them. No way. Like, not. So he must have had a skill. So can you imagine him on like one of them police documentaries where they, you know, where they go and try and find where the killers brought something from, and it's like, right, let's hunt down this magic marker. Yeah. To solving the riddle. So yeah, so he I really liked him because he was so bad at like stuff. So to plot his revenge is what I mean by that he was so bad. So the guy poisons himself with the cookies that he laced with rat poison. I mean, that's like next level proper going for it, really. It's like poison yourself.
Well, apparently he knew that they weren't enough, or the doctor said it wasn't enough to kill, but you have to be pretty confident in your rat poisoning of brownies to think, yeah, this is just the right amount that it will put us in hospital.
And like, how did he know that?
Oh, there's no Google, is there?
Like, yeah, no Google back then. Like now we'd just look it up. Like I could Google it now.
And I thought the whole point was he was trying to punish them all by doing horrible things to them, but then he punishes himself as well. by poisoning himself. I mean, it's just not really rational.
Oh, he clearly had like no. I mean, Emma's put, "How did we survive the 90s?" Like with no health and safety and things. But 𝐿𝐴 clearly had no health and safety like concerns, because he like climbed up on that roller coaster with lead pipe and like jimmied his hand in to like get the roller coaster to go off the rails. I mean, that is like next level, like risking your life. So you've got the rat poison, risking your life to try and derail the roller coaster. Well, he did derail the roller coaster. But yeah, and then we have to mention, so the obviously the creepy note with the magic marker, credit for his creativity there.
Yeah, good poetry skills.
Yeah. But and then obviously he would have had to have been strong enough to pull that disc out from the Funhouse. So yeah, so again risking himself, like he risked himself for this revenge. And then I have to mention the creepy phone call.
It wasn't creepy.
The first creepy phone call.
Okay.
I mean, let's just try and so he phones Tess up to like scare her after he's pretended to kill the cat that she borrowed.
Who lends someone a cat? I didn't understand that. Like, her mate's like, here, take a cat for comfort. Pick whatever one you want. And she takes this poor Trilby cat. And, I mean, does Trilby not get a say in this? Did he not get a little upset? I mean, where was he weeing and pooing while he was in her house? She just took him home and left him there.
Oh, I know. And it's like, what was if he got out? And, the poor cat. And we what happened to him at the end.
I think he made it. I was a bit sad when I thought he'd been hanged, but
yeah, I actually thought that they'd actually
like, wow, this is dark.
Yeah. So obviously someone knows that she's got this cat, so phones Tess up. Tess is like, hello, and then all she gets is meow. And then he hangs the phone up.
I thought maybe he tried to do it in a creepy voice. Like,
well, I was going to say
meow. No, that's not creepy. Well, that is creepy, but not enough.
Meow.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he must have like, you know, like back when you were younger and like you fancy, this might just be me, you fancied a boy, and so like back then you could just use your house phone to like phone them and then hang up.
Yeah.
So I kind of imagined it a bit like that, like he phoned, like, oh, she's not going to answer, and then like she answers and he's like panics and goes,
yeah, what do I say? Meow.
Like, oh dear, it was like classic, and this is why I think he might be one of the classic point horror villains. He was just hilarious. And then later on, I think he phones up and sings like a creepy birthday down the phone.
But he must have been disguising his voice a bit, because otherwise she would have recognised him, right? So
yeah, because obviously
doing it in a weird voice.
Yeah, because 𝐿𝐴 was Tess's brother. Well, the brother she grew up with. It turns out that he found out he was adopted, and that's why all this revenge plot happens.
It's quite.
Yeah. And then and then obviously at the end we get like the little epilogue that he doesn't die when he falls, because I think the ending to me was a little bit, it went really quick, and then he just kind of like, Tess managed to like move the disc.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that.
I wish I could picture this disc, if I could picture what these saucers looked like.
Oh god, because they must have been like big to get a body through. So I don't know how they were moving them around so easily, or where they would even put them. But anyway,
I feel like my line editor would have been like, I can't visualize this, I can't visualize this. And I would have had to go back and put loads more detail
in. Yeah, so obviously 𝐿𝐴 at the end kind of like fell through his own kind of trap, although Tess moved the disc. I got a bit confused at the end, but he ends up in hospital and not dead, so you get this epilogue where he's like listening to the doctors. And So, and then obviously all the way through, there's the mystery of who this character from the past called Buddy is. So Buddy in the past is the person who basically this is getting really complicated, made 𝐒𝐲𝐬's mom give him up for adoption. And he never finds out who he is until that last epilogue. And it turns out he was Trudy's, who I'll get to because I loved her as well. Trudy's dad. So Trudy Slaughterhouse, her name was. So yeah, so like the epilogue for me, I was kind of like, oh, we need a sequel. And like now
I was hoping there was a sequel.
Yeah, and they could have called it Slaughterhouse.
It would have been perfect because Trudy didn't get. I thought she would be murdered, to be honest, and she wasn't. So I was like, oh, she's leaving it open for a sequel. Trudy will get her comeuppance, but she didn't.
I wonder whether she would have written a sequel, but yeah, could have called it Slaughterhouse because obviously slaughter name. But anyway, yeah, and it made me laugh because last month we read Beach House. I nearly said Beach Party then. We read Beach House, and there was a character. Spoilers for Beach House if no one's read it. I'll try not to say too many spoilers, but there's a character in there called Buddy, and basically we don't know what happens to Buddy at the end, let's just put it this way, of Beach House. So I was like, oh, this is where he ended up. He ended up in Funhouse. But it was just a nice little just that really wasn't why she called him Buddy, but I'd like to think that it was. So let's talk about Trudy. I'll jump down to Trudy because I think she might have been my favourite character. How about you, Kathryn?
Yeah, I liked her because she was horrible. I liked her fashion. At one point she's wearing like a big fat pink bow on her head to match her pink sweater or something, isn't she? And she sounds like some sort of
like a yellow
rich,
jumpsuit or something.
I think. With a leather belt or something.
Yeah. But I really liked her. I think she was my favourite because she was like sophisticated and like calls her dad like daddy and things like that. And I think she wore like this beige slacks and
a red leotard.
Yeah. And obviously her dad was like the chairman of the board. I mean, all of their dads kind of were. And they were very socially busy, and like, so Trudy didn't have a curfew, but she was just awful to like Tess mainly. She really didn't like Tess, but she was like, sorry, go on.
Oh no, there was just one bit I really liked when she was like trying to help Tess for about 10 seconds, and then when Tess stubbornly says no, I'm okay, she's like, if anything terrible happens to you, it's your own fault. I was like, oh, what a great friend you are.
Oh, I don't actually think. I think Trudy was kind of like probably not friends with Tess, but just was like that person who joins the group like through someone else. Because I think she fancied 𝐒𝐲𝐬, I think, if my memory is correct. But yeah, that was brilliant. If anything happens, it's your fault. It's your fault. But yeah, I've made some notes on her. So I loved as well that DIANE HOH described as like big boned, and like for point horror, like that rarely happens. Like Stein does it sometimes, but not in like the way that DIANE HOH does it. Like DIANE HOH seems quite to be like, yeah, she's this brilliant character. She's big bone. She's this and that, and that. I kind of like that. And I loved the way that like she had no compassion. I think Gina says like ice water must run through your veins, Trudy.
She just wants a party, doesn't she? She's going to have her birthday party and she doesn't care.
She was very, very insistent on having the party on the beach, the picnic party,
at night,
where it gets poisoned by brownies. At night, by the boardwalk where this horrific accident's just happened. She loved it. And she had party hats at the party as well.
And brownies that she didn't eat.
And brownies, yeah.
It's her
Yeah.
own party, but she didn't want to have a brownie because it would go straight to her hips. Like, you don't know how to live. Eat a brownie. Come on. Oh no, don't, because they had rat poison in them. So it's quite lucky she didn't. But
well, yeah. It did make me suspect her a little bit, I have to admit. I thought, oh, like, I literally had no clue who the killer was. And then I was like, ooh, it could be Trudy. And I kind of wish that it was Trudy.
yeah,
Just because she's such a good character. I just loved her. And like, there was a character in The Boyfriend by Stein called Joanna. Now, if Joanna and Trudy got together, that would be like its own point horror, because they're just so awful to each other that I would read that. Yeah. It's just brilliant. So another character that I liked was Gina Jamboni.
Oh yeah.
I hope I've said that right. Or I like to call it Gina G, because all I kept thinking in my head was like, ooh, ah, just a little bit. Oh dear, no one prepared my singing today. It's all retro, but never eat food from an unidentifiable source. Also, I was not here for the brownie phobia. What's that mean?
I don't know, actually.
Oh, I'm not sure. Let us know. And Eddie's put there needs to be a sequel. Yeah. There wasn't a sequel. We didn't get one. We'll have to write like fan fiction.
Yeah, maybe I'll sort of try and write a sequel, see if I can publish it.
Yeah. Oh, it's all retro, but because Trudy didn't want to eat the brownie. Yeah, I'm with you now.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, not with it today. Sorry, Raj. So Gina, or Jamboni, as her teacher inappropriately called her.
What's that all about?
It was so random. So she had like short, dark, curly hair, olive-skinned face, dark brown eyes, which was her most outstanding feature. A round face, and she was fun and had a cute personality. And she was just brilliant. I think she was actually a good friend to Tess.
Yeah, she was probably one of the only nice normal people, wasn't she? She was just. So I was a bit concerned when she got injured, but made it. Thank you.
Yeah. So she got injured, didn't she? Going to get the keys that Tess, I'll say dropped, but someone pulled them out of her pocket. Well, we know it's 𝐏𝐨𝐬𝐧𝐭, in the Funhouse. So she goes back to get them, and then the disc has been removed, and she falls through the disc and then ends up in hospital. And I was like, oh no, she's gone too soon. I really like. But I liked Gina as well, because she was from like this large Italian family, and you could just imagine like her father. But then I was thinking, oh, she's from this Italian family. Wouldn't her father be? This is so bad. I really do apologise. Like, if this is like is it typecasting? You'll see what I mean. But like, her father's Italian, so if she fell and had an accident, surely like they would be after the person. But you don't really.
The parents don't get much input, do they? They just sort of hang around and don't do much.
Yeah. And then a dad as well, like, guilts Gina into like getting all the friends together at the boardwalk to show that it's all safe and it's all like, you know,
the day after someone's died, wasn't it, or something? And they're like, please, we're losing money, go and have some fun. And they're all like,
yeah. And then obviously she ends up having the accident. Did you like Gina, Kathryn?
Yeah, I was trying to imagine her house, because she says it's like full of people, and I don't know how many cats they had, but I think they had quite a lot of cats. So I'm imagining this really chaotic house just full of loud Italians, cats everywhere. Yeah.
Oh dear. And she fancied classic point horror name Doss. Yeah,
she had been dating Beak or something, hadn't she? But she
I think so.
Moved on to Doss. I don't blame her, to be honest, because Beak was a little bit odd. Come back to him.
She wanted something a little different, which is why she fancied Doss. So I think he was like a bit rough.
Yeah, because his family had lost all his money, but she still didn't think any worse of him. She still liked him. She points that out to Tess, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. And then, oh, and she made me laugh when she was like, this person has obviously come off the roller coaster, the crash. It was Sherry, that's it.
Lost her face.
She's wearing, so her face is like mangled. And obviously she's wearing the same purple blouse as Gina. And Gina's not worried about Sherry's face. She's just like, oh, she's wearing the same purple blouse as me.
She was quite cold, wasn't she? She wasn't really into it.
I was just like, oh, Gina, what are you doing? And like, she didn't like mustard. I think at some point that gets mentioned, like she didn't like mustard. And I was like, oh, that's a bit of a random Gina fact that we know. And then she also made me laugh when I think the school give them like a day off after the roller coaster crash, and like to mourn Dade Lewis, who has died. And she's like, come on, let's go and see a funny movie at the cinema. She was like the classic best friend in a point horror, who for once doesn't turn out to be the murderer. Normally, most of the time, the best friend does it. But yeah, I really liked her. She should never change. She was great.
She was fun.
So Beak then, 18-year-old Beak. I think his real name was Robert Knapp, but I think he got the nickname Beak, didn't he, because of when he was younger, something to do with his nose. Yeah,
he had a really big nose when he was younger, but then he'd grown into it and actually looked okay. But the nickname.
So yeah, that was it. He'd grown into his face, so now he was like all handsome, but they still called him Beak. But he was like the practical joker.
They say practical joker and that he's nice and funny, and then they tell you what the practical jokes are. And I was a bit like, that's not funny. That's just
So practical jokes that we know of that he did was something to do with, he replaced a kettle. So okay, we'll do a game of good practical joke or bad practical joke. So he once replaced a kettle of soup in the cafeteria with a pot of glue. Good practical joke or bad practical joke?
Did people eat it? Did they not notice the difference? Were they like, why is there glue in here? And then got something else? It's just not the best.
So I presume that means like the school cafeteria.
Yeah.
So the whole, oh my gosh, like you'd kill him
because it was glue.
Okay. So next one, I think he poured thick layers of honey into every pair of track shoes worn by his teammates. I mean, I think that's a good practical joke.
It's better, but shoes are really expensive. I'd just be cross if someone did that to me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true, actually. We'll go with bad practical joke. I think they're all going to be
weird.
Tying 2 dozen aluminium cans to the back of the school bus. I mean,
that's not too bad, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll let him have that one. And then not forgetting the time that he went into his American history class on stilts.
I didn't understand that. He's just that person that everyone's like, what? Oh God, Beak's here and he's on stilts again. Just ignore him and he'll stop.
I mean, those are like next level, like practical jokes, really, aren't they? And like, I mean, how would he get? No, he wouldn't get through the door.
Maybe they're just those little stilts that you sort of hold with strings, like a kid has.
Oh, let us know in the comments if you thought any of those were like good practical jokes, because we're kind of thinking. It made me laugh as well. So he's obviously known for all these practical jokes, and then he gets poisoned by the brownies. And then his parents are like, I think they say this to Tess, like, do you think he's on drugs? Has he been experimenting with drugs? Because lately he's been like really rude.
It's like, this is what worries you. It's like so many points in the past they should have worried about him.
Yeah, at any point through any of the practical jokes, they should have worried about him. And then just at the point where he's been poisoned and in hospital, they're like, oh no, he might be on drugs.
All that glue.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone's going, yeah, not very good practical, not very good. And then I think like at the party on the beach, he puts like one of the party hats like over his nose, and like
it's hilarious.
Trudy calls him a psychotic chicken. Yeah. And I kind of like that. So yeah, other than that, he didn't really do a lot. Other than be there for like
the boy characters did really though, did they? Because Doss wasn't really particularly a big character, was he? I can't really think about anything to do with him, to be honest.
Doss Beecham, so Donald, his real name, but everyone called him Doss. I mean, the names in this book, like, I'd love to know. Like, it's one question I should have asked I did like an interview with DIANE HOH, and I should have asked about names. I could kick myself now. But Doss Beecham is described as an insensitive clod. He was different and a bit of a grouch. He walked around like the world like owed him something. Emma's put, why didn't they call him Don? Yeah, why was he called Doss? I don't get it. He had like olive skin and black hair, and his father lost all their money because he's been drinking, and then lost his job on the board. But he still owns like the big house on the hills, and I think he's like trying to work to support the family and stuff. So that's kind of all I really knew about him, other than Gina like fancied him. So I think he was like the classic red herring in the book to try and put you off, but he just didn't really do anything.
No, I kept forgetting about him. It's like, who's Doss? Oh, yeah.
Who's Doss? I couldn't forget about him with that name. I was like, oh, he must but yeah, and it made me laugh when at the hospital. So I think the hospital scene might have been my favourite, because you just got to see like all the parents, and I kind of like that. But at the hospital, his mom walks in and someone comments. I wonder if it was Gina who commented about how she's wearing like an old, I think, outdated black dress and like worn down heels, and I just thought, oh bless.
I mean, she sounds like she dresses better than me, to be honest. I don't know. It's like a bit of an effort. What are people saying about me when they see me walking the room?
They probably like look at me and they're like, oh my gosh, she needs to get a stylist. And then another character that was really underused, but I think they could have done more with, is it Candice or Candace?
That was the sister, Sam's sister, right?
Yeah, Kate. Kate, I think it was actually Cadence, something like that. Yeah, Sam's sister. So she was like the pale, thin blonde, like our typical kind of point horror character. She never wore jeans. She always had a ponytail, and she had this like ferocious look because of her heavy set eyebrows. Her
eyeliner, wasn't it? Like dark eyeliner. But this was the 90s.
The 90s.
We used to shave off our eyebrows and then pencil them back in, like these big surprised lines, like really thin lines. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and then obviously like the lip liner with the dark
brown lip liner to make your lips
I
look
miss
bigger.
that look.
Like a clown.
I think for the next point of horror chat, I'm bringing that look back, like the dark and like the red. So I think she like classified like a good 90s look there. But yeah, she was always looked frightened, and she was like a little scared rabbit. So if Sam was 18, she was obviously like the little sister. I'm taking it. And made a note that she had a passion for stuffed animals. So I write notes as I'm reading. but I don't know why I wrote that or where that came from.
I think,
So
didn't she have a thing for 𝐿𝐴☏ And I thought maybe that was then like Diane setting that up as that's where he got the fake cat that he used to scare. I don't know whether that's me thinking she was being a lot cleverer than she intended. But I thought maybe that's where the cat came from.
Yeah, and she had like, I don't know what this is, so I should have Googled it, but I purposely didn't in case I look, well, what's a Mew Mew? I don't know what a Mew Mew is.
A moo. So it's like, it's like basically a big sack dress. So it's like just a huge dress sort of thing. Yeah. That has no shape to it and it's really big and baggy. And then,
that sounds like something I would
it's
like
really
to wear.
comfy, but
But she loved her like blue, how do you say, moo is it?
Yeah.
Moo. Yeah, cats put is it
Candice.
Yeah. Candice in her moo. I just didn't know what that was. Honestly, I was going to Google it and then I thought, no, I'll wait and I'll ask what it is on the but yeah, other than that, I think that was like all our characters. There was quite a lot of characters in this one. But yeah, so out of all of those, who do you think was your ultimate favourite character? Including the villain.
Yeah, I liked Trudy just because she was proper horrible. The rest of them were a bit sort of wishy-washy horrible, but she went for it. Took no prisoners. So yeah, I liked her. And I liked 𝐿𝐴☏ just because he was just so rubbish. As villains go, just sort of Tess, and all his silly little songs and stuff. I was like, you're not scary.
Oh dear, honestly. Karen's put in the Funhouse, why did 𝐿𝐴☏ make her take off her shoes?
Yeah, I put that in my notes as well. I was like, I don't understand. Because he was going to hang them both, wasn't he? So he was going to kill himself and her as well. And I was like, has it got something to do with how his father was found? I didn't know.
It was random. Yeah. Maybe he had a foot fetish. You know, he had a cat fetish. Well, I won't say he had a cat fetish, but you know, he had a bit of a weird outlook.
He was just, he had some problems, didn't he? He was just, and I struggled with the idea that he'd grown up with Tess, but then he finds out that he's adopted, but that Tess is 𝐿𝐴☏ Senior's real daughter. So he's like, I'm going to punish her for this. And I was like, what's she done to you? He needed some therapy, not to go around killing everyone. Didn't work. Yeah,
and Raj just put 𝐼𝐸 Retro's put 𝐿𝐴☏ needed anger management and he needed something because
he needed a hug, I think, because I think his fake dad was rubbish and then he found out he wasn't his real dad, so he was troubled. I
think he needed to go to the Point Horror villain training centre.
Either go evil or get some therapy. You can't just sort of be in the middle with your psychotic purple marker.
Oh, I love that letter. I'm never going to get over it. I'm never going to forget 𝐿𝐴☏. Never. I think he might have been my favourite character. Eddie's videos put, I do feel bad for 𝐿𝐴☏ just a little bit.
I felt bad for his mum, because his mum did all of this to try and give him a better life, and then she committed suicide, hoping that he'd go off and live a good life, and then he's just gone full mad person. It's very sad.
Just by he went up in the attic looking for ski clothes and ended up finding the diary. So. But why was he looking for ski clothes? Because wasn't it summer?
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't explain that. I don't know where I missed it.
Although we don't know how, like, when he found it, because he must have been plotting. I want to say he was plotting that revenge for a while, but then I think, was it?
It's not very good if he did, was it? It wasn't very well thought through.
No. So I always do this thing like body count, like on my blog post that I normally put up, and in this one I put one body.
I thought it started off so well. I was like, this is going to be one of the ones that has lots of death in it, and then it was just poor old Dade, and that was it.
Dade. I wish we had a Dade backstory, just so then I could feel a bit more sorry for him.
Yeah. I think they mentioned that the guy who lost his leg was like into track or something, don't they? Just to kind of
Yeah. Oh
sort of
yeah, yeah,
drum it home that it's bad that he's lost his leg. But I
yeah.
don't think we got much of a backstory for Sherry or Dave, did
No,
we?
no. Um, Bar just put 𝐿𝐨𝐲 was living a good life in his daddy's mansion. He basically turned into a brat,
Yeah.
like most point horror boys do.
Yeah.
Why we love them.
Not the best.
Yeah, and so did you find this scary? Just to like kind of wrap up a bit, did you find any of it scary? Like, you like the scary
no, I don't. It's not very scary, is it? I think when she's in the house and all the lights are on and it's dark outside, my imagination, if I'd put a bit of effort into it, could have made it a bit scary. But no, and then it started off a bit scary when something was following her through the woods, but then 𝐿𝐴𝐲 ruined it with his silly voices. He's all like, Tessie, come on, Tessie, or whatever it is, in like a little singy voice, and she's like, what? And then she falls in the swimming pool. So, yeah, no, it wasn't very scary, was it?
No, I do admit, like the roller coaster thing at the beginning, like obviously this is why I like Final Destination films, because like Final Destination 3 starts off with like a roller coaster crash, and it just hones in on those like fears that you always have in the back of your head. So like for me, like I thought the beginning was quite scary.
Yeah.
And also I wouldn't go in that fun house. I was saying this earlier on a post on It's All Retro's post, because she'd done a really good review of Funhouse, and I was saying I would not go into that fun house at all because I'm just a wimp. Like I won't go into the story that I told before on here, but I did go into like something similar once before and I cried all the way around. So yeah, no, I wouldn't go in there. So for me, like the fun house was quite scary because like I just don't like that. Even though I read like a lot of horror and things, I just don't like stuff like that. Scary. Emma's put, It's Behind You is a great read so far. Grab a copy, point horror friends. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, so overall I enjoyed Funhouse. I do remember it from as a teen. I think that's why I kind of, in the back of my head, I did think it was 𝐿𝐴𝐲, but as I said, I talked myself out of it and just suspected everyone. Did you read it as a teen, Kathryn?
Yeah, I loved it as a teen, but I'd forgotten it. I knew I'd enjoyed it because I love anything with a carnival type theme to it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it when I was a kid, but I didn't remember it. I mean, I don't think I remember who the killer is in any of the ones that I read when I was younger. Because I think I just sort of inhaled them really quickly overnight and then was like, okay, where's the next one? So, yeah, it didn't stick with me.
It did feel familiar. As I say, I haven't reread. I've reread a few other ones since I was a teen, but this one I hadn't reread since a teen, and like there's a few familiar things from it, but I was just like, oh, I'm so glad it wasn't like really bad in that my life.
Wasn't anything really dodgy in it, and you're like, how did I miss that?
Karen's put, I love that 𝐿𝐴𝐲 assumed that he would go to the asylum and not prison because he used a purple crayon, maybe.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, I'll just go and weave some baskets and then I'll be back. And I was like, baskets.
Can you imagine him? Oh, imagine his phone calls from prison. He'd just do like random animal noises. He went to prison. He went, meow. I'm never going to get over that meow, never. And Speedway Chick put, the cat hanging was the shocking moment for me.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised. I was like, has she seriously killed the cat? She's not killed any other people since Dade at the start, and she's killed the cat, which is a bold move for an author. But
yeah, I actually did think that the cat was brown bread. I fell for that. I think I even wrote in my notes, oh my God, the cat!
Not Trilby! Trilby!
And then Eddie's videos put, somebody please write the sequel. Oh, we need a sequel. We need a sequel. But also a shout out as well to I mean, I love DIANE HOH's point horrors. Like, I'm a huge fan, and like, it was a huge honour to like be able to interview her for my blog, and I just love how she always uses the colour purple in most, I'm gonna say most of her point horrors. So like in this one, you got purple blaze, purple magic marker, and then the accident by DIANE HOH springs to mind, where there's like purple mist that appears. So she was obviously, that must have been her favourite colour, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's like a calling card, isn't it?
Yeah. So lastly, just to finish off, what did you think of the actual end of the book? What did you think of it?
I thought,
yeah,
it was a bit rushed, wasn't it? Suddenly she tricks him into falling through his own trap, and then that's it, and then it's all wrapped up, isn't it? And I just had lots of questions. I was like, is she going to stay with Sam? Because I thought they'd at least have a moment when she's like, you know what, I'm too good for you. And he's like,
yeah,
what? And then everything he said was exclamation marks, and he goes in for a kiss, and she's like, no. And I thought there'd be some big resolution, but there wasn't. It just all just wrapped up a bit quick.
The boardwalk, like, did it stay open?
Yeah, the old lady in the food booth. So many questions.
So many questions. That poor old lady. Oh, but thank you, Kathryn. I've really enjoyed like chatting about the book, and like I really enjoyed this month. I really like the book.
It's a nice book, isn't it? It's really fun.
Yeah, it was really good. But no, thank you for joining me. And as I said before, like honestly, if you like point horror, you would love Kathryn's books. So yeah, go and grab them. Oh, I just hit myself in the face with them. Yeah. But yeah, go and buy.
Yeah, do it. There's lots of terrible boyfriends and characters you want to see die. So yeah, point horror.
Oh, I like everyone knows I like a bit of death.
There's a lot more death in mine actually than point horror. I think it's like point horror, but a little bit more violence, I think.
No, definitely. So I think to end the chat, I think we should just like do our best meow. Just because I think it would be quite funny, and I'll like cut the chat off if I do it. Otherwise we'll be just meowing forever. But thanks to everyone for joining in and all your comments. I hope I've like read as many out as I could, but thanks for joining in, and all your fab like pictures that you send me throughout the month, and like things when you're reading the book. I love it, and it just makes me smile so much, and I just love that people love point horror as much as I love point horror, and I'm just so glad that I found everyone who loves point horror. so thank you all. So right, here we go, Kathryn, are we ready?
Yeah,
so
I'm ready.
Meow. Right, meow.